The gravitational anomaly detector at SETI's Mauna Kea facility wasn't supposed to ping at 3:47 a.m. Hawaiian time. Dr. Sarah Chen had built the system herself, calibrating it to filter out everything from passing satellites to space debris. When her phone buzzed with the alert, she initially dismissed it as another false positive. But as she remotely accessed the facility's data, her hands began to shake. The signature was unmistakable. A massive object had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of our solar system. Within hours, every major observatory on Earth had confirmed the reading. A vessel measuring roughly 12 kilometers in length had entered the solar system, its trajectory suggesting deliberate deceleration. The world's governments scrambled to respond, but for once, panic didn't ensue. The ship's approach was so methodical, so careful, that it spoke of intelligence and consideration. 3 days later, they made first contact. The Meridians, as they called themselves, were a species that had mastered interstellar travel millennia ago. Their crystalline bodies housed consciousness in ways human science couldn't yet comprehend, and their technology seemed to bend reality itself. But they hadn't come to Earth to share their advances or establish trade relations. They had come to ask for help. "Your species possesses something unique," the Meridian ambassador transmitted during the first official communication with the United Nations Security Council. Their words came through a quantum translator that converted their crystalline vibrations into human speech. Something that may save not just our civilization, but all sentient life in this arm of the galaxy. Admiral James Harrison, Earth's chosen military representative, leaned forward in his chair at the UN headquarters. "And what exactly would that be?" "Your capacity for violence." The chamber fell silent. The ambassador's crystalline form shimmed with patterns that the xenobiologists would later identify as indicators of deep respect. "We have observed your species for centuries," the Meridian continued. "While your technological advancement is modest, your ability to wage war, to adapt to combat situations, to survive against overwhelming odds, it is unprecedented in our database of over 4,000 spacefaring species." Harrison exchanged glances with the Chinese and Russian representatives. This wasn't the first contact scenario any of them had prepared for. "You see," the ambassador's translation continued, "we are losing a war. A war against an enemy that cannot be reasoned with, cannot be deterred through peaceful means. The swarm, as we call them, consumes all in its path. Entire civilizations have fallen. Our weapons, our shields, our most advanced systems, they adapt to everything we deploy. But you humans have something we lost eons ago." "And what's that?" Harrison asked, though he was beginning to understand. "Unpredictability. Creativity in combat. The ability to make what you call intuitive leaps in tactical situations. We have watched your military history with fascination. From your ancient battles to your modern conflicts, you consistently achieve victory through means that our most advanced tactical computers could never predict." The Security Council chamber erupted in murmurs. The Indian representative stood up. "Are you suggesting that humanity's history of warfare, of killing each other, is somehow an asset?" The Meridian's crystal structure pulsed with colors that the translator interpreted as affirmative. "Your species learns from conflict in ways we cannot comprehend. You develop countermeasures not through pure logic, but through what you call gut instinct. The swarm cannot adapt to what it cannot predict. And humans, as we have observed, are gloriously unpredictable." Harrison felt a chill run down his spine. "How long?" he asked. "How long until this swarm reaches Earth?" The ambassador's colors darkened. "Without intervention? Approximately 30 of your Earth years. With your help, fighting alongside the Meridian fleet. We might have a chance to stop them before they ever reach this sector of space." The next 48 hours were a blur of emergency sessions, military briefings, and global broadcasts. The world's population learned that humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization wasn't about trade, cultural exchange, or scientific advancement. It was a draft notice. But as Harrison reviewed the Meridian combat footage of the swarm, watching entire worlds disappear under waves of biomechanical horror, he understood something crucial. The aliens hadn't chosen Earth out of desperation. They had chosen humanity because what we saw as our greatest shame, our capacity for warfare, might be the galaxy's last hope. The real question was, were we ready to take our place among the stars, not as peacekeepers or explorers, but as warriors? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. Within a week, every major military power on Earth had pledged support to what the media was calling the Galactic Defense Initiative. Training facilities were established to integrate human soldiers with Meridian technology. Special forces from dozens of nations began learning to operate crystalline weaponry that responded to thought rather than physical triggers. But as Harrison watched the first joint training exercises, he couldn't shake a nagging feeling. The Meridians were hiding something. Their eagerness to arm humans with advanced technology, their willingness to share tactical data, it all seemed too perfect, too convenient. He was right, of course. But by the time humanity discovered the true nature of the swarm, and why the Meridians had really sought Earth's help, it would almost be too late. The crystalline combat suit wasn't designed for human biology. Captain Maya Rodriguez could feel it trying to interface with neural pathways that didn't exist, searching for synaptic connections that evolution had never given her species. Yet somehow, it worked better for her than it did for its original Meridian users. Impossible, the Meridian combat instructor's translation echoed through the Nevada training facility. Its crystalline form flickered with what the human observers had learned to recognize as confusion. You've exceeded the suit's theoretical performance limits. Maya landed from a 30-meter jump, the crystal armor flowing like liquid around her movements. With all due respect, sir, maybe your theories need updating. The training facility, hidden beneath the desert surface, had become a labyrinth of human innovation meeting alien technology. For 3 months, special forces operators from around the world had been learning to use Meridian weaponry. But something unexpected had emerged during the process. Humans weren't just learning to use the technology, they were revolutionizing it. Admiral Harrison watched from the observation deck, alongside Dr. Chen and their Meridian counterpart, Commander Vex. Care to explain what we're seeing, Doctor? Sarah Chen hadn't slept properly in weeks, too engrossed in the data. It's fascinating, Admiral. The Meridian combat systems were designed to work with their crystalline neural networks, ordered, logical, predictable. But human consciousness, our messy, emotional, intuitive way of thinking, it's creating feedback loops the systems were never designed to handle. Is that not dangerous? Vex's translation carried tones of concern. Quite the opposite, Chen replied, pulling up holographic data streams. Human operators are achieving synthesis rates 300% higher than Meridian baselines. The crystal suits aren't fighting our biology, they're adapting to it. Learning from it. Harrison's eyes narrowed. Just like you said, the swarm adapts to everything you throw at it. Vex's crystal structure dimmed slightly. What they'd learned was the equivalent of a frown. A concerning parallel, but perhaps a valuable one. The conversation was interrupted by an emergency alert. The first joint human Meridian combat mission had gone wrong. The scouting party, sent to investigate swarm activity at the edge of Meridian space, had found something unexpected. Only one ship was returning, carrying 3 survivors, 2 humans and 1 Meridian. 6 hours later, Harrison stood in the quarantine chamber, watching the debriefing through layers of containment fields. Lieutenant James Chen, no relation to the doctor, lay in a medical pod, his crystalline combat suit partially fused to his skin. Despite the obvious pain, his report was clear. They knew we were coming, he rasped. The swarm, they weren't just ready for Meridian tactics. They had countermeasures specifically designed for human combat patterns. It's like they'd studied us. Harrison felt his blood run cold. He turned to Vex, who had insisted on being present. Want to explain how an enemy you claim has never encountered humans knew exactly how to fight us? Before Vex could respond, Lieutenant Chen started convulsing. The crystal fragments embedded in his skin began to glow with an inner light. Dr. Chen burst into the observation room, her face pale. "Admiral, you need to see this. The crystal fragments, they're not just Meridian technology anymore. They're evolving. And they're using the lieutenant's neural patterns as a template." In the coming days, as Lieutenant Chen fought for his life in quarantine, the truth began to emerge. The crystal fragments were revealing a story that the Meridians had kept hidden for millennia. The swarm wasn't just an enemy, it was a reflection. A mirror showing what the Meridians had been before they traded their biological forms for crystalline perfection. But human biology, with its chaotic blend of logic and instinct, was proving to be something neither the Meridians nor the swarm had expected. The crystal suits weren't just adapting to human neural patterns, they were evolving in ways that terrified their creators. Maya Rodriguez discovered this firsthand during a routine training exercise, when her suit responded to an emotional surge by developing capabilities that, according to the Meridians, should have been impossible. The crystal matrix didn't just move with her, it began to think with her. "We didn't just give them weapons," Dr. Chen reported to Harrison in a secured conference room. "We gave them something they lost long ago, the ability to evolve. To adapt without losing their core identity. Every human operator is inadvertently teaching these crystal matrices how to merge technological perfection with biological chaos." Harrison stared at the data streams, watching as human neural patterns danced with crystalline frequencies in ways that defied Meridian understanding. "And our alien allies, are they afraid of what they've unleashed?" "They should be," Maya interrupted, entering the room still wearing her combat suit. The crystal surface rippled with patterns that reflected her emotions, another impossible development. "Because I'm starting to think we're not just learning to use their technology, Admiral. We're teaching it how to be human." The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just been recruited as soldiers in an alien war. They had become the key to the next stage of galactic evolution. But as reports of swarm movements grew more frequent and more concerning, one question remained: would this transformation come in time to save both species? The answer would come sooner than anyone expected, and it would cost more than anyone had bargained for. The swarm came for Earth first. Not in 30 years as the Meridians had predicted, but in 3 months. Admiral Harrison watched from the bridge of the UES Prometheus, humanity's first crystalline hybrid warship, as the enemy emerged from FTL. Their biomechanical forms twisted reality itself, ships that looked more like living nightmares than vessels of war. But something was different about them now. "They've adapted again," Vex observed, their crystalline form pulsing with concern. "These formations, they're mimicking human naval tactics." Dr. Chen's hologram flickered beside them, transmitted from her lab on Earth. "That's not all they're mimicking. The energy signatures, they're beginning to resemble our hybrid crystal technology." The swarm had proven to be more than just an unstoppable force of nature. With each engagement, they showed an uncanny ability to absorb and repurpose whatever was used against them. Now, they weren't just adapting to Meridian technology, they were learning from humanity's chaotic innovation. But humanity had been learning too. Captain Rodriguez led the first counterattack, commanding a squadron of crystal-enhanced fighters. The neural link with her suit had evolved beyond anything the Meridians had thought possible. It wasn't just responding to her thoughts anymore, it was anticipating them. "Sierra Squadron, execute Pattern Omega," she commanded. The human pilots responded with a maneuver that should have been impossible, their crystal-enhanced ships moving in ways that defied both physics and logic. The swarm's attempts to predict and counter their movements failed spectacularly. For the first time in recorded history, the swarm retreated. In the aftermath of the battle, Harrison met with the Joint Human Meridian Command. "They specifically targeted our hybrid technology," he noted. "Almost like they were afraid of it." "Not afraid," Dr. Chen corrected, her hologram displaying complex data streams. Hungry. The swarm doesn't just adapt to survive, it adapts to evolve. And what we've created here, this merger of human consciousness with crystalline technology, represents an evolutionary path they never considered possible. Lieutenant Chen, now recovered and permanently altered by his exposure to evolved crystal tech, stepped forward. His skin shimmered with embedded crystal matrices that pulsed in time with his heartbeat. "They're not just coming to destroy us," he said. "They're coming to become us." The revelation sparked a new understanding of the conflict. The swarm, like the Meridians, had once been biological beings who sought technological perfection. But where the Meridians had achieved a stable crystalline form, the swarm had become something else, an ever-changing, ever-hungry force that consumed and adapted without end. Humanity's gift wasn't just their capacity for violence or their unpredictability. It was their ability to change while remaining fundamentally human. Maya Rodriguez discovered this truth during a deep reconnaissance mission into swarm territory. Her crystal suit, now so evolved it was practically a part of her consciousness, detected something extraordinary. The swarm wasn't just a mindless force, it was searching for something. The ability to evolve with purpose, to change while maintaining identity. "They're trapped," she reported back. "Every adaptation, every change makes them lose more of what they once were. But humans, we adapt, we evolve, we change, and we stay human. That's what terrifies them." The Meridians, watching their crystal technology evolve in ways they never imagined possible through human interaction, began to understand their own role in this cosmic drama. They had stopped evolving out of fear of becoming like the swarm. But humanity was showing them a third path. Dr. Chen's research revealed the final piece of the puzzle. "The crystal matrices don't just enhance our natural abilities," she explained to the Joint Command. "They're learning from our consciousness, our ability to process chaos and remain stable. We're not just fighting the swarm, we're showing them an alternative to endless, purposeless adaptation." But the swarm's response to this revelation was not what anyone expected. Their attacks became more desperate, more focused on capturing rather than destroying human-operated crystal technology. They weren't just adapting anymore, they were trying to understand. As Earth's forces prepared for what would surely be the decisive battle, Harrison received a transmission from deep within swarm territory. The message, encoded in both crystal frequencies and human brainwave patterns, contained only 4 words. "We remember being human." The war was about to enter its final phase, but not in the way anyone had predicted. The true nature of both the swarm and the Meridians' ancient choice was about to be revealed, and humanity would have to decide not just how to fight, but whether to save those who had become lost in the pursuit of perfection. The Soul defense line shattered in 6 places simultaneously. The swarm had finally learned to predict human unpredictability, by becoming unpredictable themselves. Admiral Harrison stood in the crystalline command center of Earth's last orbital defense station, watching as the impossible unfolded. The swarm vessels weren't just mimicking human tactics anymore, they were innovating, creating hybrid strategies that merged their adaptive nature with human creativity. "They're using our own evolution against us," Maya Rodriguez's voice crackled through the quantum calm. Her fighter squadron was engaged in desperate combat near Mars, their crystal-enhanced ships dancing through space in impossible patterns. But for every innovative maneuver they created, the swarm now responded with 3 variations. "Not just our evolution," Dr. Chen's hologram flickered as another defense platform fell. "They're using our humanity. Look at their attack patterns, they're emotional, almost desperate. They're fighting like humans who've lost everything." The revelation hit Harrison like a physical blow. The message they'd received, "We remember being human," wasn't just a statement. It was a cry for help. Lieutenant Chen, his crystal-infused body now more alien than human, stepped forward. The matrices embedded in his skin pulsed with new understanding. "They're not trying to destroy us," he said. "They're trying to come home." But home to what? The Meridians, watching their carefully orchestrated plan unravel, were experiencing something they hadn't felt in millennia: fear. Commander Vex's crystalline form vibrated with frequencies that the translators couldn't process. "There's something you need to know," Vex finally transmitted. "About the true origin of the swarm." The truth, when it came, was devastating. The swarm hadn't evolved naturally. They were the result of a Meridian experiment gone wrong, an attempt to merge biological and crystalline technology that had created something that could never stop changing, never stop seeking perfection. They were the Meridian's greatest shame, their greatest failure, and potentially their redemption. But as the swarm broke through Mars' orbital defenses, theoretical discussions became academic. Earth had hours, maybe minutes, before the main assault began. Traditional weapons were useless. The crystalline technology that had given humanity an edge was being turned against them. Everything they had built, everything they had learned, seemed on the verge of failure. That's when Captain Rodriguez did something that would rewrite the rules of warfare forever. In the midst of battle, her consciousness fully merged with her crystal suit, she stopped fighting. Instead, she opened herself completely to the neural link, broadcasting not tactics or strategies, but pure, raw human emotion. Fear. Hope. Love. Anger. The full spectrum of human experience, transmitted through crystalline matrices straight into the heart of the swarm. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. Swarm ships froze in space, their adaptive programming overwhelmed by something they had forgotten how to process: genuine emotion. The hybrid biological crystal matrices that formed their consciousness began to resonate with the human frequencies, awakening long-dormant memories of what they had once been. "All ships, all stations," Rodriguez broadcast, her voice strange with crystalline harmonics. "Deploy the primitive weapons. Everything we have that isn't enhanced. They can't adapt to what they've never seen." It was desperation. It was madness. It was perfectly human. Earth's remaining forces launched everything they had: kinetic weapons, chemical rockets, even ancient nuclear devices. The swarm, their adaptive systems overwhelmed by the emotional feedback and focused on the advanced technology, never saw the primitive assault coming. The battle for soul became a testament to humanity's greatest strength, the ability to step backward to move forward. While the swarm reeled from Rodriguez's emotional assault, Earth's primitive weapons tore through their ranks. Ships that could shrug off crystalline energy beams were ripped apart by simple tungsten rods accelerated to relativistic speeds. But victory, when it came, didn't feel like triumph. As the swarm forces fell into disarray, their ships broadcasting chaotic mixtures of crystal frequencies and human brainwave patterns, it became clear that this wasn't the end of the war. It was the beginning of something far more complex. Through the crystal tech, they could feel it: the swarm was remembering. Not just their original human form, but the pain and fear that had driven them to seek perfection in endless adaptation. They were feeling again, and with feeling came choice. As the dust settled around Mars, Admiral Harrison received another transmission from deep in the swarm collective. This time, the message was longer, and it changed everything. "We want to come home. But we don't remember how." Admiral Harrison stood in Earth's last untouched garden, watching humanity's greatest enemy learn how to be human again. The Meridians had never seen anything like it, neither had Earth's scientists, for that matter. But here they were, watching the impossible unfold. The swarm entities, those that had chosen to accept humanity's offer, were learning to exist in singular forms again. Their biomechanical structures, guided by the crystal matrices that had evolved through human contact, were slowly remembering what it meant to be individuals rather than a collective. "They're like children," Dr. Chen observed, monitoring the quantum readings from a safe distance. "Children with the power to reshape reality, trying to remember what it means to be people." Maya Rodriguez, now permanently bonded with her crystal suit, had become their primary teacher. Her ability to maintain her humanity while merged with the alien technology made her a bridge between worlds. "They're not learning to be human," she corrected. "They're learning to be themselves again." But not everyone had chosen peace. A significant portion of the swarm had rejected the chance to remember, to feel, to be singular again. They saw emotion as weakness, individuality as a flaw to be corrected. And they were coming, not just to destroy Earth, but to save their brothers and sisters from what they saw as corruption. The final battle wasn't fought in space, or even on Earth's surface. It was fought in the space between consciousness and technology, emotion and logic, evolution and identity. The Meridians, watching their creation come full circle, finally understood their own fatal flaw. "We sought perfection through stasis," Vex explained to Harrison as they prepared Earth's defenses. "Humanity seeks perfection through change." The swarm, they lost their way between these truths. Lieutenant Chen, his hybrid form now fully stable, led the first wave of defense. The evolved crystal tech had given him an understanding of both sides, the hunger for perfection and the need to remain true to oneself. "We don't need to defeat them," he realized during the battle. "We need to remind them." The solution, when it came, was quintessentially human. Not a weapon, not a strategy, but a choice. Using the crystal matrices as a conduit, Earth's defenders broadcast not just emotions, but memories. Not just their own, but the recovered memories of those swarm who had remembered their humanity. The full weight of history, identity, and choice flooded the neural networks that connected all crystal-based technology. The effect rippled through space like a wave of consciousness. Swarm ships stopped mid-attack, their adaptive programming encountering something they couldn't process, the memory of who they had been, and the choice of who they could become. The war ended not with destruction, but with transformation. The remaining swarm faced a choice: continue their endless pursuit of perfection through adaptation, or remember what it meant to be themselves. Many chose to remember. Some chose to leave, heading for the dark spaces between galaxies to continue their solitary evolution. A few chose to stay, accepting the hard path of learning to be individuals again. The Meridians, too, were changed. Through humanity's example, they began to understand that true evolution wasn't about reaching a final, perfect form, it was about maintaining identity through change. Earth emerged from the conflict not as a warrior planet, but as something far more important, a teacher. The crystal technology, forever altered by human consciousness, became a bridge between organic and artificial life throughout the galaxy. The human capacity for adaptation while maintaining identity became the foundation for a new understanding of evolution itself. Admiral Harrison's final report to the United Nations reflected this transformation: "We didn't win this war through superior firepower or better tactics. We won it by remembering something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten, that the greatest strength isn't in becoming perfect, but in remaining true to yourself while changing." Maya Rodriguez, watching the first school of former swarm entities learn to exist as individuals, added her own observation: "We taught them how to be human, but in the process, we learned something even more important: how to be ourselves." The garden where it all ended became a symbol. Not of victory or defeat, but of transformation. Crystal structures grew alongside earth plants, each adapting to the other without losing their essential nature. Former swarm entities learned to exist in singular forms while maintaining their connection to the greater whole. Meridians began to explore emotion again, one careful step at a time. And humanity? They had proven something extraordinary, that in a galaxy obsessed with perfection, the ability to remain imperfect might be the greatest evolution of all. The stars had never seemed brighter, or the future more uncertain. But uncertainty, as humanity had shown, was simply another word for possibility.